what does it mean to stay honest and true in every action? It's about honoring others with respect and fairness, because doing what's right, even when no one is watching, is what defines real integrity.
General Douglas MacArthur. Have you ever heard of this guy? Probably not. He was a top commander in the Korean War and also in World War II. And he's known for coining this phrase that you probably have heard, which is that rules were made to be broken. You ever heard that phrase? I like to use that phrase all the time just because it's kind of like a life motto for me. I'm like, rules, pa! And I just do the exact opposite of whatever they're telling me to do. But what's even worse than rules are instructions. Freaking hate instructions, right? How many of y'all ever try to build something from IKEA? You ever try to build something from IKEA? It's like you're trying to put the stuff together and all you have is like no words, just these pictures of this gender ambiguous, amorphous blob figure person who is just like just as confused as you are, really trying to build the furniture. But lo and behold, every single time you're trying to build a dresser and they give you just a little hex wrench, you pull it off. You follow what the little guy says to do, and it works. It actually does work at the end of the day. Now, I think like we like to complain about IKEA's instructions or instructions and instruction manuals. Like it's just easy to do. But can you imagine how screwed we would be if we did not have instructions? Like, if there was no guide at all to build the stuff, if you were just like, yeah, I'm going to throw this thing in the trash and try to just build it myself. Like the little box it comes in, how's that supposed to be a dresser? I would never figure it out by myself. I would get it wrong often. I would break it, I would destroy it, and then the thing at the end of the day would not be very stable, it wouldn't be very useful, and it probably wouldn't last for very long if I tried to do it myself without the instructions. That's crazy. But we probably do that all of the time in life, where we have instructions and we just figuratively throw them in the trash and ignore them and try to do it ourselves anyway. Like, you've probably seen videos or heard advice about how to be healthier or get into shape, and you're like, cool, no. You've probably read or seen a recipe on TikTok or something like that, and then you're like, awesome, I should totally do that. But then you don't, right? Maybe you've read a self-help book or something that someone's given you, and it's had a lot of great, or listened to a podcast or whatever, and it's like, that's great advice for how to live a better life, and then you just don't implement any of the strategies whatsoever. My question really for us is, does having all of the information really help us if we don't put it into practice? Does having all of the information really even benefit us if we have the knowledge, but we don't live it out? It's like having instructions and throwing them in the trash. In this series, we're not talking about how to build really good IKEA furniture. We're in this series called The Noble Experiment, and we're talking about how to build something else, how to build a good life. Last week, just to kind of catch us all up, we said that there's a formula for building a good life, essentially, and we have to start with good character. And we said, like, well, what is good character? Take one of the O's out of good and make it God, because God is fully good. And if you want to know what God is like, look to Jesus. That was God in human form as he walked on this planet. And so how was he? What are the things that he prioritized? What are the things that he did, that he said? What are the things that he was about? That would be God character. That would be good character. So that's kind of the goal, I guess, where we want to start is with good character. Then we want to add authenticity. Now, authenticity is being who you really are. And I said, be who you really are all of the time, whether you're here or you're at home or you're at school or you're behind closed doors in the dark with no one around. Be the same, or you're online commenting, bro. Be the same person all the time. Be authentically who you actually are. Now, the goal would be that you're growing more and more into God's character, into good character as you get older and you learn and your understanding matures and things like that. So who you authentically are will evolve over time, and you'll be shaped more into the image of Jesus, because these two things working together, added together, equals integrity. And integrity is really the word. If I could summarize this series in a word, this would be it. Because this is the noble experiment. This is an experiment with your life that's noble. It takes courage. It goes against the grain. It's countercultural, but it is worth striving for. This life of integrity is worth trying to achieve, trying to accomplish, failing, messing up, learning from the mistakes, and getting better. But be honest, be real, and be consistent. And when it comes to building a good life or the great life, the Bible is our instructions, right? That is, and Jesus is the little guy in the pamphlet. And so this is what we got to follow. And like I said last week, bro, like I'm a pastor, I'm going to be in the Bible, but I've dedicated my entire life to this because I believe in it, because I've tried both of the options, and this one is better. I promise you that. And I just want the world to know. I want everyone to know, and to not have to make some of the mistakes I did, and to have to spend the rest of your life undoing them with the people in your life that you love, if they're still around and there's still time. Like, that's why I'm trying to forward this on to you. Because yes, it's our instruction manual, and yes, you have it. You have access to it. Like, I don't have a physical paper Bible. Okay, you've got a phone, you've got the internet, there's options, okay? You can access this thing anytime, but a lot of us are just walking through life trying to do it on our own, and we've essentially taken it and thrown it in the trash. So how can you live by it if you're not or you can't put it into practice, right, if you don't know it? I like to say it like this. How can you practice it if you don't pursue it? If you're not pursuing God's word, it's going to be really hard to practice it because you don't even know what you're supposed to be practicing, right? And that's where I come in, and that's why we're here. And so good for you for making it here on a Sunday morning, whether you wanted to be here or not. We're going to do it together here today. So we're going to go to Jesus. Now, Jesus was the most influential teacher to ever walk the planet. And he delivered the most famous teaching on a hillside in northern Israel. One of Jesus's followers, his name is Matthew. He wrote the book of Matthew in the Bible. If you want to get there, you can right now, or like scroll on your phone or whatever. We'll be in Matthew chapter 7. But during this teaching, which takes up 2 chapters of Matthew, 6 and 7, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he said, I did it. This is where it started. He said things like, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. He said things like, you are the salt of the earth, which could be a whole sermon in and of itself, because there's so much nuance and there's so much going on in just that statement alone. But his audience would have been like, what the heck? He said, if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Yeah. He said, don't worry about your life. That sounds easy. Thanks, Jesus. Like, thanks for the advice. I would stop worrying if I could. He said, love your enemies. That's insane too. Because they had been taught, someone wrongs you, wrong them right back. And our culture tries to teach us that even now. All right, so this is all in the Sermon on the Mount. Some of these ideas and these concepts, and there's a whole bunch more. Some of these are hyperbole and exaggeration, like cut off your hand. He's not being literal, like don't actually cut off your hand, right? But at the end of his message, Jesus addresses the question that I asked in the beginning, which is, how do we build a good life? And he used an illustration of a house. And so, imagine this is your life. This is 10 sheets of paper. And in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27, Jesus says, therefore, because this is at the end. Every time you see a therefore, ask what it's there for. All right. So he's summarizing everything he had just said in chapter 6 and 7. He says, therefore, anyone who hears these words of mine, who reads the instruction manual and puts them into practice, will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Now, let's see, to illustrate this, we are going to staple the papers together of life. This would be like building your house on the rock. I don't think that worked. We have a firm foundation. We just sang about that. Okay. Look at that. So, we'll be like a wise person who built his house on the rock. And the rain came down, and the storms rose, and the winds blew and beat up against it, yet the house did not fall. Like, even if I'm hoping this will work. If I take one sheet of paper, they're not coming apart. Life's going to stay together, right? Okay, because their foundation's on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the streams rose, and the winds blew. Look, they were met with the exact same circumstances. 10 sheets of paper, your life. The difference is this one isn't built on the rock. So whenever all the adversity comes your way, it's just going to become dismantled in a big old stank nasty mess. It fell, and great was its crash. Try to put that back together again, it's going to be harder. Remember the general that I mentioned earlier, Douglas MacArthur? He said, rules are made to be broken. The full quote is actually this: rules are mostly made to be broken and are too often for the lazy to hide behind. The lazy hide behind rules. He said rules are made to be broken because to live under the reign and rulership, the tyranny of just rules for rules' sake, it's not freedom. It's a prescriptive lifestyle. And you're not even, it's just obedience. Like, your heart isn't even really in it. So he's like, defy the rules. Go, like, be creative with the rules. Whatever it's got to look like. And he said, because they're mostly made to be broken. Not all of them. Not all. We've taken this out of context and it's devolved into rules are made to be broken. No, not all of them. Some are still good. Some are necessary. Right? And a whole bunch of rules are just for the lazy people to hide behind. Jesus did it first because he was mostly about breaking rules too. He wasn't going to be lazy and hide behind rules anymore. There were 613 rules at the time. It was the Mosaic Law, it was the Old Testament, and people were they were not eating certain foods. They were dressing a certain type of way, and they had to say things at a certain time. And it was very prescriptive. And there was all of this just to try to earn the favor of God and try to make it to heaven or be good enough, which you never can be. Like, Jesus was good enough for you because you can't ever be. And so he said, yeah, forget those rules. Most of them. And then in Matthew 22, later in Matthew's gospel, he whittles all 613 of them down into 2. He says this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and with all your mind. That's the first and greatest commandment. Because he says, new commandments I'm going to give you right here. Right? And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law, all of the Old Testament law, and all of the prophets, everything that everyone had said up to this point, hang on these 2 commandments. If you do this, you'll do all of that, inevitably. It'll happen. The entire instruction manual for your life is summarized in these 2 phrases: love God and love people. It was actually one of the first tattoos I ever got. It's on my wrist, if you can ever see it. It says LGLP, love God, love people. So I always want to be reminded of that. You do that and you'll do all the rest. Living like that is the noble experiment. Not just having the resources, not just having the instruction manual, but actually living it. Yeah, you know that Bible verse, but do you live it? Yeah, you have that instruction manual for life, but are you actually walking it out? Because I don't know about you, but whenever the storms come, I want it to be like this. I don't want it to be like this. So what does it look like? I can tell you from personal experience that it really does work. It really is worth it. It is work. It is harder to live a life for Jesus. But it's the best thing that you could ever do. And I want you to test him in this. Literally, challenge him. Challenge me on it. Live a life of integrity. Try to be more consistent. Try to reflect the attitude, the lifestyle of Jesus in this world, and see if things don't get better. See if you don't feel better, healthier. I mean, try it. That's the noble experiment. I'll give us 3 things and we're done. practical applications for you if you're taking notes or just mental notes or whatever. But number one, start simple. Okay, integrity isn't about making like this huge life change. I was just talking to New Bailey about this morning. It's like whenever, New Year's resolution comes and it's like, I'm going to work out every single day. And then like 2 weeks later, you get all discouraged because it's hard. It's too much all at the same time. So start simple. Start for like 5 minutes a day, right? Big, amazing change is made up of tiny little steps. Tiny little choices every day that you make. So start simple. Choose to be honest, even if you're going to get punished or a consequence or get in trouble or fail a test. Be honest. Even if it's not going to benefit you well. Even if it's like, I could lie right now and but tell the truth and see what happens. I've tested, oh my gosh, I've tested that so many times. It's so crazy how honesty works. To not do it is like throwing the instructions in the trash. Number two, check what you're building on. Think about your life right now. What is driving your decisions? Why do you do what you do? Why do you talk the way that you talk? Why do you go the places you go? Are you building on things like money or trying to impress other people or whatever? I don't know. Because that's where your foundation is. Is it firm? Number three, do what you know is right. I think we all know basically what the right thing to do is in almost every situation. There's that feeling inside of you, you know what I'm saying? But it's often hard to follow through with these things. So throughout this week, I just want to challenge you to just do the right thing. Just do these 3 things and just see how it goes. We'll check in again next week. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to hearing how it goes, talking it out with you, because integrity follows what Jesus says is best. And that's the life that I want for all of us. That is the Noble Experiment.